Hi, my name is Claudia Fuentes and I'm the marketing assistant at the Bakersfield Museum of Art. And today I'd like to show you how to make a simple pamphlet stitch book that you can use for a sketchbook. For this project, you're going to need some paper, a thicker paper like cardstock, a bone folder, a needle and thread, pencil, ruler, awl, and an X-Acto knife. The first step in this project is to fold your paper. This is going to be a 5.5 by 8.5 book, so it's just an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper folded over. I don't want to fold all of my papers in one big stack. I want to fold them not one at a time because I think that'll take too long, but I'm going to do 2 to 3 at a time. And to save my fingertips, I'm going to use a bone folder. This is a piece of plastic or bone, and its purpose is to help you fold things over and over again and save your fingertips, because this can get repetitive and it can start to hurt after a while. I chose 15 pages for my sketchbook because I want a 30-page sketchbook. If this is your first time making one, I would suggest doing maybe 6 or 8 pages. That way you get a 12 to 16-page sketchbook. As I finish folding my last piece of paper, I'm going to then stack all of my paper into one pile. All of the centers, all the pages are going to be open, and all of the folds are going to go the same way. Alright, so I'm gonna stack my paper up and line it up so that they're all even, and I'm gonna mark where I'm gonna poke the holes where my stitches are gonna go. So I want 1 stitch from 1 inch from the top, and the second one is gonna be 1 inch from the bottom. This is as close to the edges as you want to get. The middle hole will be in the middle of those 2 stitches. I can never get the math right with the imperial side of my ruler, so I'm going to switch to the metric side because I can divide that easily. And erase the mark that I don't need. I'm also going to fold my cover. I chose a cardstock cover for this. I really like it because it's got a shiny side and a not shiny side. And you want to fold that one as well. Because I have so many papers, some of it's going to stick out to the sides. I'll fix that later. Right now, I really only want to just poke the holes. I want to pre-poke them with this tool called an awl. It's very sharp. And the purpose of poking the holes before I start sewing is that hopefully it'll make the needle go through it really easily and I won't have to struggle pushing the needle through. I want to angle my awl towards my cutting mat. If you don't have a cutting mat, cardboard will be fine. You just want to protect your work surfaces, especially if you're a perfectionist like me and you want to trim the book down at the end. You will have to protect your surfaces. You don't want to be carving up your kitchen table for this. You can see that I'm struggling, and that's because I chose so many pieces of paper. If you chose fewer pieces of paper, this will be easier. So now that I've poked those holes, I'm going to sew my book together. I'm going to use a needle and thread to do that. This thread is it might be too short and I don't want to waste my time trying. So I'm going to get a thicker length of thread and I'm going to thread my needle. My needle is a thick carpeting needle, I think it was. It's been a long time since I've had it, and I've just kind of found the biggest needle that I could for this project. You can do this with thinner needles. I just found that it was really hard to kind of grip and pull the needle through. So, especially if you're a beginner, the thicker needles, they also tend to be not as sharp at the end, which is something that definitely if you have smaller hands and you're doing this for the first time, you want. So, how do we sew this together? You're gonna go from the outside to the top, then the bottom, and then back to the outside. And you could sort of see that I didn't poke my hole hard enough. I'm trying to leverage my pages against my cutting mat. It's not the safest or smartest thing that I've ever done. Eventually, I did get it through, and I want to keep my needle threaded and pull almost all of my thread through. I want to leave a long tail because I'm going to use that to tie my book off. So this is one of the problems that I ran into because I'm stubborn and wanted to use a lot of papers. I had to re-poke some of the holes because I was having a really hard time getting the needle through, even though I picked kind of a really thick needle. I definitely didn't make the holes wide enough for my needle to go through comfortably, so I had to do it twice. So as we're finishing the last stitch, I want to keep that tail out of the book because I'm going to use that in a second. And I'm going to go use my needle to go outside of the book one last time. This is the last stitch that I'm going to make. And I personally like to go around the thread. That's just a personal preference. I'm going to pull my thread taut, not so much that the paper bends, but just so that it's not very loose. And I'm just going to tie a regular knot. I'm actually going to tie two because I feel more secure that way. And then I'm just going to cut most of the string off. I don't want to get too close to the knot because these papers are going to move, and just in case, I don't want that knot to slip. And that's it. Your book is complete, you've finished. There is going to be an overlap if you use a lot of pages. I'm going to cut that off because that's my personal preference. I'm going to grab a metal ruler and an X-Acto knife, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to get close to the edge and drag my X-Acto knife along the edge of the ruler and cut papers off. It's going to come a few papers at a time. This does take a little bit of patience, and I definitely recommend a metal ruler. I have ruined many a plastic and wooden ruler doing this badly. The last thing to do with your sketchbook is to decorate the outside. I've decorated a few in the past. These I did with gouache. This one is a stamp that I made because I love pizza. This one I didn't do anything, it's blank. I just put the date on the outside. And then this one, someone gave me a sticker and I thought it would be funny to put someone else's name on my sketchbook. And that's it. And there you have it. I put this one underneath a stack of books just to squish down the edges a little bit. Sometimes there's been a time or two where my thread didn't hold up, so it's no big deal. As long as you have more thread, you can always put it together again, or you can do it twice. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let us know. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I put all of our follows on the screen. See you next time. Bye.